We begin the top of the hour with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who says China will strengthen cooperation with other developing countries in fighting against COVID-19. Xi addressed the meeting of Shanghai Cooperation Organization via video link. He said China will continue its efforts to provide vaccines to the world. President Xi also said the group should take tough actions against terrorism and improve security operation mechanisms. When speaking about Afghanistan, the Chinese president says the SCO could play a positive role in facilitating peace in the country.
Afghanistan has undergone drastic changes. The withdrawal of foreign troops has opened a new page in its history, but Afghanistan still faces many daunting challenges, and it needs the support and assistance of the international community, particularly countries in our region. We SCO member states need to step up coordination, make full use of platforms such as the SCO Afghanistan Contact Group, and facilitate a smooth transition in Afghanistan.
Well, President Xi says the SCO should continue to improve trade and investments among member states. He also proposes to create growth drivers for groups' cooperation, such as digital economy, green energy, and modern agriculture. President Xi says China will continue to share its market opportunities to help economic recovery. The SCO meeting is taking place in the Tajik capital of Dushanbe. The grouping includes China, Russia, 4 Central Asian nations, India, and Pakistan. Well, for more on this story, we're now joined by Malte Brosig. He is a professor in international relations at the University of the Witwatersrand Department of International Relations. Professor, thank you for joining us. Afghanistan has featured heavily in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization forum. What role should regional neighbors then play in helping Afghanistan to stabilize?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. Yeah, I mean, the Afghan issue, of course, is one of the most pressing ones in the region right now. And I think the greatest, I mean, the chance for influencing somehow events on the ground are the greatest if regional organizations like the SCO is providing the Taliban with a coherent response and a clear message. And I think one of the common ground is certainly that Afghanistan, and it's not acceptable for the region that Afghanistan is either exporting or harboring terrorist activities and groups in any kind of way. So I think there's quite a lot of agreement on that, as well as maybe also preventing Afghanistan from becoming a place for proxy wars. We've seen that in Syria happening, and the situation is still very fragile on the ground. So it's a very early phase, of course, with the Taliban trying to consolidate power here. And of course, the most pressing issue also is for the Afghan population, is the access for humanitarian aid, which has to go through regional neighbors in the direct neighborhood of Afghanistan. And then we still have to wait and see to which extent more cooperation with Afghanistan is actually possible. I mean, the country wants to join the SCO, of course, I mean, I don't think there's a rush for admitting it, so this also provides some leeway here influencing the government maybe somehow.
And Professor, as we heard earlier, the Chinese president is calling for more cooperation in combating terrorism. What needs to be done then to eliminate risks posed by global extremists in places like Africa?
That is a tremendously big question, actually, and it's an important one because we see, especially on the African continent, that certain terrorist activities, although there was a military response organized from the continent in cooperation with many international partners here, these initiatives are not proceeding, not succeeding, actually. So the first thing, I mean, is to address the issue, which should be welcomed, and then we have to critically think how we wanna proceed. So the current situation where we're focusing a lot on the military response, so I think that is somehow finding its own limitations. So it has to be better linked with governance questions, because there's no point in militarily pushing back militants, which is necessary very often. But then the question is who is filling in the gap, and this has to be done then by local governance structures. And most African countries are transforming, but they're also fragile, and this makes them vulnerable somehow. And then we have to be honest that creating governance is a tremendously difficult task, and this can not necessarily be initiated from the outside. That must really grow up from the ground, and this is a very long-term process where we also have to expect some setbacks. Other issues. I mean, the list is very long, so don't want to talk forever here. But the other issue is that the United Nations struggles with too comprehensive mandates. So, and I think the Secretary General mentioned that a couple of times. So we have to think about what priorities we want to set in peacekeeping operations, which are also asked to engage with militants here. And I will leave it there. So it's a very complicated question, and I think we constantly have to review and discuss this actually. And different conflicts, of course, require different responses.
Right. And finally, briefly, Professor, what lessons then can African countries draw from having a vibrant body like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization?
This is, I think there is space for, let's say, intercontinental learning here, but of course, Africa already has a number of regional organizations, right? And maybe one thing is that maybe there are too many, and maybe there's space for consolidation. So sometimes it's better to have maybe fewer regional organizations, but they are more effective, and then having more political support and better resources, actually. I think that might be one issue.
All right, Professor, thank you very much for your insights there. Professor Malte Brosig with the Department of International Relations at Wits University, joining us live there from South Africa.